Our next speaker is Elliott. His topic is a new science of breathing. He's going to be talking about a new understanding of breath and the broader biological function of breathing. He's an LLC from Allen, Texas. Please help me welcome Elliott.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for coming. I labored for some time trying to figure out how to condense what is a fairly rigorous topic down into 20 minutes or so discussion. So I had various chart packages and whatnot that I used for International Society for Neuronal Regulation and other venues, and decided to give up all that for today. And just to tell you in a nutshell what this new science of breathing is about and how it came to be. My own background is I studied yoga and martial arts and meditation very seriously for much of my life, 30 or 35 years of studying these practices very seriously, often 40 hours a week or so. I had spent very much time studying different breathing methods and techniques from different cultures and societies and backgrounds, and had a pretty good understanding of how those breathing systems worked and what they did. But I was always in search of what I considered a new understanding of the topic. I was never quite satisfied that I had a complete understanding and was not achieving what I knew I could achieve in the long run. I happened to run into a neurotherapist who is also my co-author of the book, The New Science of Breathing. Here in Plano, I have a couple of sons. One is 16 years old and was experiencing ADD. And I was looking for a non-Ritalin approach to ADD management, and I just read the book, Getting Away Without Ritalin, something to that effect. And so I was seeking a therapist that could help my son. And was introduced to D. Edmondson, who introduced me to a form of biofeedback known as heart rate variability biofeedback. Anyone familiar with that? In a nutshell, heart rate variability biofeedback measures the rate at which your heartbeat rate changes. Now, most of you, maybe some of you may or may not know that your heartbeat actually does change in time in a cyclic manner. By that I mean the average understanding of the heartbeat rate is that the average heartbeat rate is 72 beats per minute. But more importantly, if you observe the heartbeat rate with a stethoscope or with a heart rate variability monitor, I have one at my booth here if you'd like to come by and take a look at it, put your finger in it and see what your heart rate variability cycle looks like. It changes in time, in effect, like a sine wave. And the important thing is that the emerging medical understanding is that the extent to which your heart rate variability rate changes is very indicative of your mortality risk from all causes. This is a generally accepted understanding in the medical community today. What has not been understood is that the heart rate variability cycle is very, very related to breathing. And that is what the new science of breathing is about, is really drawing the psychophysiological relationship between breathing and the heart rate variability cycle and autonomic nervous system balance. It's actually a very simple matter, and that is that there's a physiological phenomenon in the body known as respiratory sinus arrhythmia. Anyone heard of that? Respiratory sinus arrhythmia is a long term for a sort of a simple relationship and concept that exists between breathing and the heart rate. It is such that as you inhale, your heart rate tends to speed up. And as you exhale, your heart rate tends to slow down. And the body's wired like this for a good reason. I've talked about much of this in the book, The New Science of HRV. But there is a magic moment that, again, in the medical parlance is referred to as cardiopulmonary resonance. And this is the moment where the heart rate variability cycle and the breathing cycle are synchronized. And this moment also happens to be the moment when the autonomic nervous system is completely balanced. You may or may not know that the central nervous system is sort of subdivided into somatic and autonomic branches. The autonomic branch automatically governs most psychophysiological processes of the body. So it's very important, the matter of autonomic balance is very important to our health and well-being for the reason that if your autonomic nervous system is imbalanced, then 100% of your psychophysiological functions, including cellular communication down to the smallest level of your body, is incoherent, asynchronous, chaotic. Where in the state of autonomic balance, all bodily functions are harmonious, synchronous, and synergistic. For example, and one of the things that really brought this to my attention, if you meditate, if you breathe at the rhythm of cardiopulmonary resonance, which I prescribe at 5 breaths per minute essentially, with equal inhalation and exhalation, if you do that and you consciously relax and remain still, guess what happens? You automatically meditate. There is no trying to meditate, there is no learning how to meditate, you automatically meditate. Now, if you hold your posture correctly and breathe at this frequency, you will automatically begin to elicit the Kriya activity in the body. The foremost one being what you're doing now. Sort of a cycling of the Schacherer or the Chong meridian, which is the major meridian connecting the top and bottom chakras.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Have you been using this method before?
Probably, I don't know. I mean, been working on the breath first.
Good.
You know what I did?
I think you may be onto it.
I got tuned into it. I think that goes to my next question. Have you done much or talked much to Tai Chi? Because Tai Chi is based on breath work, period.
Yes, actually, my book addresses Tai Chi. I've done Tai Chi in traditional Taoist and yogic arts for 25 years.
Okay.
I'm really steeped in that and the yogic practices. But yes, absolutely, and I address that in the book. To that end, the book is The New Science of Breath, Coherent Breathing for Autonomic Nervous System Balance, Health, and Well-Being. You can find it for sale over in the booth or on the website, coherence.com. You can also find it on Amazon. Just search on The New Science of Breath in Google and you'll find it in the bookstore. Again, CDs are also available, and I conduct workshops in coherent breathing, 2-day workshops in Highland Point, Texas, which is about 45 minutes from here. And Dee Edmondson, my co-author, also works here in Plano as a neurotherapist and sees many clients who she assists with coherent breathing recognition. Yes?
Are you just on the breathing methods right now?
Well, I don't have a pacing device with me to do that, but
Or you need something?
well, I have. Ideally, yes. You pace your breathing at a 6-second rate. So inhale for 6 seconds, exhale for 6 seconds, while relaxing, and you automatically elicit cardiopulmonary resonance. I didn't anticipate that we'd have time to do it today, so I didn't bring sophisticated setup, but I do have it over here. I have my CD, I have a CD player, a set of headphones, and the heart rate variability monitor if you'd like to sit down and experience what this is like. Yes?
Is this something that you can teach yourself? Or you need
Absolutely.
a therapist?
Absolutely. Well, it's I often explain this way. The method is both exceedingly simple and exceedingly complex, as good things are. And that is the reason why it has been a mystery for 10,000 years, which it has been. Breathing has been revered, as you know, as a key method for health, spirituality, and performance attainment thereof, for literally as long as man has, for 10,000 years. Man's earliest writings pertain to the importance of breathing. But the understanding of how to elicit the exact state and maintain that state throughout your daily life, as well as in your health or spiritual practices like meditation, has not been known until now. So, yes, however, the reason I offer workshops to both individuals and therapists is to teach them the more subtle aspects that it's taken me 5 years to understand.
You talked about yoga, but do you get into the chanting? Have you developed yourself in the breathing versus being able to?
Well, I also assert in the book that the fundamental purpose of mantra is to elicit cardiopulmonary resonance. So yes, if you have a mantra or you practice chanting, and the chanting happens to facilitate inhalation and exhalation at a 6-second rhythm, you are eliciting cardiopulmonary resonance. Now, there are two primary aspects to this. One is the frequency of breathing. The other one is the regularity, the depth of breathing, and the other is the regularity of the rhythm. And all three of these affect the outcome. The frequency of breathing has a lot to do with the range of heart rate variability. That is, what your peak heart rate is and what your valley heart beat rate is. The highest and lowest heartbeat rate that you might experience in the course of 15 seconds. The depth has a lot to do with eliciting parasympathetic autonomic function and is half of the equation. The regularity is what we refer to as coherence of the breathing rhythm or of the autonomic nervous system rhythm that is facilitated by this regular breathing. That has a lot to do with meditative state, with miraculous healing and these things. For example, last year I had a hole punched through my hand right here beside the pencil. It happened to be by a catfish who rammed his fin through my hand, and it got stuck in my hand. I had to put out the fire. But it was a big hole that was left in my hand, and a week later it was totally gone. And the reason for that was I practice other health things too, good nutrition, etc. But the reason for that was coherent.
With the Aborigines, they have a didgeridoo. And the circular breathing that takes place through the didgeridoo. Can you get into circular breathing with this type of deal? Or?
You can. I've not dwelled on circular breathing. It's an interesting question. It isn't required to elicit the desirable health states that I've been working with. Again, if you know how to do circular breathing, it'd be a great thing to try and know how it goes.
I'm right there. I've got to get you. I'm just right there.
Great. Any other questions?
Are there any other breathing patterns that you've heard of?
There are thousands.
And are there different roles and distinctions?
Well, yes. It's a very good question. Thank you. There are thousands of breathing techniques, and many of them have their own justifications, philosophies, rationalizations as to why they're good and what they do. I've surveyed many from, again, many systems, both ancient and new, and it is my conclusion that most breathing systems attempt to elicit cardiopulmonary resonance in one way or another. Often they just touch on it, and there's benefit by just touching on it. For example, if everyone were to exhale for 6 seconds right now, your autonomic nervous system would come into alignment for 1 moment. And then it would resume its misalignment or incoherence as a consequence of, let's say, suboptimal breathing that you might be using most of your waking hours. I also say in the book that the music of Elvis Presley and the Beatles, if you hum and sing along with that music, it uses a 6-second rhythm. If you hum and sing along with that music, it automatically elicits moments of cardiopulmonary resonance and autonomic balance in your body and mind. Hence, you perform better than you feel. But what this science is about synchronizing the heart rate variability cycle, which is an intrinsic autonomic central nervous system rhythm, in effect produced by a clock that you have in your body. Synchronizing your breathing with that rhythm. And the magic is, if you breathe at the frequency of that rhythm, it will synchronize with your breathing frequency. So it is as simple as learning how to breathe at the right rhythm and depth. However, that needs reinforcement and cultivation on a constant basis. I've been using this technique for 6 years. And even now, without practicing pacing on a daily basis, I get off the mark. And there's a big difference between how you feel when you're breathing at 5 breaths per minute versus 6 breaths per minute. There's a big difference in your blood pressure, in your brainwave activity, in your Galvano stimulus. It's very subtle, and that's again why it's been a needle in a haystack for 10,000 years. Yes.
In order to breathe and getting into the averaging that you do, the intake is very small. So the exhale is forever. Now, my girlfriend, oftentimes when I'm laying in bed, she'll literally hit me and go, breathe. Well, I am breathing. But the intake is so small, and I'm not holding my breath ever. But the exhale is just so, okay, so I'm sitting here as you're missing the time, do it the entire time. And I find myself 6 seconds up, but I'm down for the 6 seconds. I find myself having to move back up because I still have so much breath in me.
There are a lot of breath training methods, in particular Zen breathing typically has a relatively short inhalation and a very long exhalation. It facilitates certain experiences, events, etc. I'm not about that. I'm about synchronizing the breathing cycle with the heart rate variability cycle, which is in essence sinusoidal. It does not have a variable increase and decrease interval. They are the same. Yes.
Question: does some of the healing benefits come from increased oxygen in the cells?
Most certainly. During cardiopulmonary resonance, during that state of resonance, when you inhale, oxygenated blood crosses into your bloodstream and is immediately transported under increasing blood pressure and increasing heart rate to your extremities. And when you exhale, it is returned via your venous system to the heart and lungs. All in a synchronous fashion.
And that will, cellular death can occur with hypoxia. So increasing oxygen could actually lead to longevity.
Well, I believe, and I assert in my book, that the body is actually optimally designed to perform at resonance. Optimal pH, optimal oxygenization, carbon dioxide levels in the blood, etc., etc. In other words, the body is designed a persistent state of autonomic balance, just like a pendulum. And when it operates in balance, things are as good as they can be. 5 minutes up. Other questions? Yes, sir.
I know I came in after it started. Something I'm working on and been taught a lot about. So how do you facilitate deep breathing? How do you actually do it?
Well, I have, I'm sorry, I didn't bring a pacing device with us because we have time to use it. I have audio and visual products that simply provide a reference rhythm, like a metronome, with which you consciously synchronize your breathing frequency. Having done that, I prescribe depth is a little harder to judge than frequency, and I suggest that you breathe to a depth that is comfortable. Having said that, with your comfortable depth will increase with practice. And the reason for that is that most people really don't use their diaphragm and intercostal muscles very much to breathe. And when you begin to breathe more deeply, you are required to use those muscle groups. And therefore, as you practice and tone them, your ability to breathe more deeply changes.
And the main thing is, as you practice it consciously, then you get to where you're doing it when you're not thinking about it.
That's absolutely right. I've had a lot of questions about sleep apnea and whether or not coherent breathing addresses sleep apnea. And my pet response is, I believe sleep apnea is a pattern that is also developed during the day, because many people also hold their breath during the day.
Yes.
If you learn not to do that and you inculcate the pattern and engram of breathing correctly during the waking hours, I believe the effect of that is also observable at night, although I have not studied.
Well, obviously your system's not going to be cleansed as well when you hold your breath. So how do you start breathing deeply all the time?
Well, I recommend that people train coherent breathing 20 minutes a day deliberately. And what I did was, after I realized what I was onto, I began to use this breathing technique at all times, circumstances permitted. I run a pacing CD in my car. I have it on an MP3 player in my pocket. I have it on my stereo at home. I have it playing in the background in my office. One of my recordings is a ticking clock with a Tibetan bell every 6 seconds. So most people walk in my office, they don't know that there's a pacer playing, but there is, and it's always there for the synchronize.
And the other thing is, how can you tell someone's deep breathing when it doesn't look like they're deep breathing at all?
Well, in general, once you learn how to do this, the breathing is silent. However, there's a lot of diaphragm and intercostal action going on. You need to know how to observe it. Most people, if you observe their breathing, it's very shallow and it occurs basically from your life. In my view, this is the cause of hypertension. It's the cause of shortened lifespan and many other maladies. I'm quite confident this will be proven in time. I think my time is down to 1 minute, so can one more question.
Real quick, do you find yourself going 15 hours out of your mouth, or does it matter?
Yes, it does matter. I address a lot of these details in the books and in the workshop, but generally speaking, breathing should be through the nose, inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose. However, the jaw should be relaxed, especially upon exhalation. Teeth should be separated. Tongue can be on the top of the mouth or in movement position, but the teeth must not be touched. The electrical conductivity that occurs when the teeth touch, and that limits parasympathetic functions. So there are a lot of subtle things like that. Okay? I think that's it. Thank you very much for coming. I'll be glad to entertain any questions. And here I'm just a second out back in the middle of the room if you'd like to let me talk. I'll be here all day tomorrow and all day today.
We will be in this classroom. One of the things
Well, you can stay in this classroom as long as you want, or you can leave whenever you want. So.
Yeah. If I left, I missed it, right? If I went with the other guy.
I understand. Well, I'll be here for 11 to 6 those days. So please try to look me up, and if you missed it, you can find me at coherence.com. Or search on the new Science of HRV on Google, you'll find me that way too.